Warning! This show contains truth, sarcasm, and unapologetic American opinions that might offend the fragile, the fake, and the fact-free. If you still think men can have babies, cry over pronouns, or need a safe space after hearing the word Trump, you might want to grab your tissues now. We don't do censorship. We don't do participation trophies. We do coffee, common sense, and calling out hypocrisy. One trigger at a time. Welcome to Data Dissonance.
So the Democrats are losing their minds over a ballroom? Yeah, the White House ballroom. Apparently Trump doing some renovations is now a threat to democracy. You'd think he replaced the Constitution with a chandelier the way these people are crying. Never mind that the White House has been rebuilt, remodeled, expanded, and repainted since before any of them were born. From Truman's steel beams to Kennedy's Rose Garden, it's practically HGTV with nuclear codes. And get this, Trump's footing the bill himself. No taxpayer money, no woke contractor grants, just his own dime. But the same folks who worship the Obamas for redecorating are suddenly pretending historical preservation started last week. It's not about a ballroom. It's about the fact that a Republican made something beautiful and they can't stand it. All right, folks, time to bring in the crew, the four corners of this glorious circus we call Data and Dissonance. First up, the man who bleeds red, white, and black coffee. The one who turns liberal tears into jet fuel. Brian. He's the reason every fact-checker in DC has overtime pay. Next, the realist who keeps us grounded, the queen of balance and brutal honesty. Rachel. She's the only person I know who can destroy CNN talking points and my ego in the same sentence. Then there's Daniel, our resident conspiracy theorist turned professor of the paranormal. If there's a string to pull, he's got a map, a marker, and 3 red pins already in motion. And finally, our left-wing lightning bolt, Skylar. She's the only one brave enough to walk into this conservative war zone every week armed with nothing but idealism, sarcasm, and a tote bag that says tax the rich. That's the crew. 4 voices, 5 opinions, 1 caffeinated powder keg. Let's dive in. All right, let's start with the headline giving the left heartburn this week. The White House ballroom. The same media that drooled over Obama's Christmas decor is now acting like Trump installed a gold-plated throne and renamed it Mar-a-Lago North. Here's the truth. The place has been rebuilt more times than Joe Biden's talking points. Truman gutted it, Kennedy glamorized it, Reagan updated it, Obama modernized it, and now Trump's just finishing the job. Only difference? He's paying for it himself. No taxpayer bill, no DEI art installation, no rainbow flag budget line. Just a ballroom built on his dime. But to hear the Democrats tell it, it's the Versailles of fascism. Let's unpack this insanity.
You know what this really is, Artie? It's jealousy. Pure, undiluted, liberal jealousy. They can't stand the fact that a Republican is building something beautiful instead of burning it down. Trump builds a ballroom, and they act like he bulldozed the Lincoln bedroom. But when Obama put up new chandeliers, that was called a celebration of elegance. When the Bidens hung $200,000 worth of modern art that looked like spilled Skittles, that was a creative vision for inclusion. Give me a break. The man's literally restoring history, not rewriting it. And the kicker, he's doing it with private money. That's what conservatives preach. Responsibility, self-funding, pride in your work. But since it's Trump, suddenly it's corruption. Meanwhile, these same Democrats are out there passing billions for pet projects in San Francisco, so junkies can have free tents and Narcan. The ballroom's not the issue, the symbolism is. It's about power. Trump builds something lasting, they build excuses.
Yeah, and isn't it wild that they call that elitist? But flying Taylor Swift into the Oval Office to talk about democracy isn't? The logic gap could swallow the deficit.
I think what's happening here, Artie, is that Democrats don't actually remember history. They reinvent it. Every president since the 1800s has changed that building. The Truman renovation literally replaced every wall and floor except the outer shell because it was collapsing. Eisenhower added a broadcasting room. Nixon installed bowling lanes. Clinton redid the China room. Obama added eco-lighting. It's what presidents do. they leave their mark. The press just loves pretending this time it's different because the name on the door is Trump. The part I find funny, they accuse him of ego. But what's more egotistical than pretending your political opponents don't have the right to make history too? The man's paying out of pocket. That should be a unifying headline, not a scandal. The bigger question is why America's media class can't handle a story unless it's soaked in outrage.
Well said, Rachel. Funny how accountability and self-funding used to be democratic values until someone with an R after his name started doing it.
Look deeper, though, because this isn't just about wallpaper and chandeliers. It's about control. The White House is the symbolic seat of American power, and every president who rebuilds it makes a statement. Truman's rebuild screamed stability. Obama's was modern globalization. Trump's rebuild, it screams legacy. He's saying, I'm not just occupying this place, I'm reshaping it. That's why the media's scared. They see architecture as ideology. And here's a fun fact. The same contractors who worked on parts of this renovation. They're the ones who've done historical preservation for decades. But the second Trump signs the check, suddenly it's sinister. They're afraid this new ballroom will become the visual backdrop for a long conservative era, where populism isn't fringe anymore, it's ceremonial. That's why you're seeing words like imperial, lavish, and dictator decor floating through headlines. They're not describing a room, they're describing a fear.
Daniel, that might be your most chilling take yet. But you're dead on. When the left starts calling chandeliers fascism, you know they've run out of ideas.
Okay, but let's be real. Optics do matter. I get that Trump's footing the bill and that other presidents have renovated before, but timing is everything. We're in the middle of an economic slowdown. Inflation's still hitting groceries, and a lot of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So when you see a headline about a billionaire president building a ballroom, it doesn't exactly scream for the people. Even if he's paying for it, it sends the wrong message. People want substance, not symbolism. They want lower gas prices, not new drapes. I just think it's tone deaf to flex opulence while so many are struggling. You can call it progress or pride, but to the average voter, it looks like a man celebrating himself.
Fair point, Skylar. Though I'd argue building a ballroom beats building more bureaucracy any day of the week. At least this project will be finished on time. All right, folks, the left's ballroom breakdown proves two things. Hypocrisy never sleeps, and history has a short memory. But we've got more fire coming. Up next, Trump's court pick sparks conservative backlash, and the GOP family feud gets a little louder. All right, let's shift gears. Because the ballroom isn't the only place conservatives are waltzing into controversy this week. The Senate just confirmed Rebecca Tableson to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, one of Trump's picks. And the right is split like Biden's attention span. Some conservatives are furious because she's donated to Democrats before, while others say her legal record is solid and her loyalty's proven. So here we are, the MAGA movement arguing over who's pure enough to sit on the bench. Meanwhile, Democrats are over there quietly cheering because division on our side is their favorite spectator sport. Let's dig in.
Man, I'll say it flat out. This one ticked me off. Trump's got a line of proven warriors who've been in the trenches for him since day one, and he goes with someone who's written checks to Democrats? That's like hiring an arsonist to run the fire department. I get it, she's qualified. They all say that. But we've had qualified swamp creatures for 50 years, and look where that got us. Activist judges, soft sentencing, and lawfare out of control. The base is tired of seeing loyalty take a back seat to resume polish. You want to drain the swamp? Stop inviting the swamp to dinner. And while we're at it, the Senate Republicans fist-bumping over this like it's bipartisanship gold makes me want to vomit. These people ran on fighting the system, not shaking hands with it. You can't save a house by repainting the termites.
Brian coming in hot as usual. Somewhere Mitch McConnell's blood pressure monitor just started vibrating. But I get your point. MAGA wanted warriors, not wine and cheese conservatives.
I get the frustration, I really do. But we've got to be smart, not just loud. Judges aren't influencers, they're institutional anchors. Sometimes picking someone who isn't red meat for the base is actually how you win the long game. Tableson's record is sharp, tough on crime, constitutionalist leanings, and respected across the aisle. Yeah, she donated to Democrats, but so did half the country before Trump flipped the script on Washington. Loyalty's great, but competence still matters. The judicial branch is where presidents leave their real legacy, not in Twitter clips or campaign rallies. If this nominee helps solidify conservative principles in law for the next 30 years, then it's worth the short-term grumbling. The movement needs more chess players and fewer cage fighters.
Rachel, that's a fair breakdown. Though if you ask Brian, he'd probably say the last chess player we had got checkmated by the deep state. But I see what you're saying. Ideology without execution just ends up trending on Truth Social.
Hold up, because here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just about one nominee. It's about infiltration. The system adapts. Every time conservatives make progress, the establishment finds a way to sneak someone in under the banner of moderate. That's how they maintain control. You put a few quiet centrists on the bench, and suddenly the conservative agenda moves at half speed while the media calls it balance. But look at who backed her confirmation. The same Senate staffers who worked under Bush and even some Obama holdovers. That's not coincidence, that's coordination. They want to rebrand the new GOP as the responsible right, while bleeding the populist edge out of it. It's controlled opposition, disguised as bipartisanship. Trump probably thought he was playing 4D chess, but the DC swamp wrote the rulebook.
Daniel, every time you talk, I swear I picture you in a dark room surrounded by corkboards and half-drunk Red Bulls. But damn if it doesn't sound plausible. Washington's like a Vegas casino. House always wins unless you burn it down.
From where I'm sitting, it's kind of hilarious watching conservatives eat their own over this. Like, welcome to our world. Democrats argue about pronouns. You guys argue about purity tests. The truth is, this nominee seems middle of the road, and that's probably good for America. The real danger isn't moderate judges, it's extremists pretending they're patriots while trying to control everything from the courts to the culture. I actually respect that Trump picked someone who doesn't fit perfectly into the MAGA mold, and maybe it means he's learning that government has to serve all people, not just his fan club. Of course, I could be giving him way too much credit, but hey, even a broken clock gets one right.
Skylar, the only clock that's broken here is the one you use to tell when government spending's supposed to stop. But I'll admit, the left's enjoying this one. Nothing makes liberals happier than watching conservatives argue over the definition of conservative.
Because unity scares them, Artie. They want us fighting over scraps while they're out there pushing open borders and green communism. But it's time we remember something. The movement wasn't built on resumes. It was built on backbone. If Trump's advisors are the ones feeding him swamp names, then maybe it's time to drain his inner circle too.
Or maybe it's time the movement stops demanding clones and starts embracing competence. You can't build a future on loyalty alone. You need longevity too.
Longevity's great, but infiltration lasts even longer. Ask the FBI.
All right, before this turns into a courtroom brawl, let's call it what it is. A growing pain. The MAGA movement's learning that winning elections is one thing, but governing means balance, strategy, and yeah, sometimes compromise. But let's be clear. Trump's still playing chess while half of DC's trying to remember the rules of checkers. All right, folks, grab your coffee and hold on to your wallets. Because New York just nominated a self-described socialist for mayor. Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, darling of the Democratic Socialists of America, just clinched the nomination to run the Big Apple. Yep. The same guy who's argued that capitalism is a system of exploitation now wants to manage the financial capital of the entire world. You can't write satire this good. It's like putting a vegan in charge of a steakhouse and acting shocked when the menu disappears. Let's break this down before the Statue of Liberty starts holding a hammer and sickle.
New York used to be the city that never sleeps. Now it's the city that never works. You can thank Democrats for that. They turned it into a social experiment where crime pays, taxes crush small businesses, and subway rats have better health care than veterans. And now they're handing the keys to a guy who literally wants to defund capitalism. This isn't leadership, it's lunacy. Mamdani's been out there pushing rent cancellation, state-run energy, and free everything, except accountability. If this guy wins, you might as well rename Times Square to Karl Marx Plaza. It's the same socialist formula every time. Promise the moon, bankrupt the taxpayer, and when it all crashes, blame billionaires for not sharing their oxygen. New York deserves better than this progressive cosplay revolution.
Brian, that's brutal. But you're not wrong. At this rate, the only thing New York's exporting is bad policy and woke t-shirts. The man talks about abolishing rent like landlords are Voldemort. Meanwhile, the city's hemorrhaging residents faster than Kamala loses poll numbers.
Here's the part that fascinates me, Artie. This is the natural result of years of political pandering. Democrats in New York have been moving the Overton window so far left that when someone like Mamdani runs, it doesn't even shock their base anymore. He's young, articulate, and uses all the right buzzwords: equity, sustainability, liberation. But underneath, it's just repackaged central planning. What worries me isn't that he might win, it's that a lot of people actually want him to. They're tired of corruption, of corporate greed, and they see socialism as rebellion instead of regression. That's what happens when civics education dies. People forget socialism's greatest hits: shortages, censorship, and misery. History's screaming from the back of the classroom and no one's listening.
Preach it, Rachel. You just summed up the last decade in one sentence. People are so fed up with the system they'll burn down the country if someone hands them a torch with a smiley face sticker on it.
Here's where it gets spooky. Mamdani's campaign isn't just some fringe movement, it's coordinated. Look at who's funding him. Small dollar donations from activist networks tied to the same organizers who funneled money through the 2020 protest infrastructure. He's being sold as grassroots. But there's big money ideology behind him. Global NGOs, climate coalitions, and leftist think tanks that want a test case for urban socialism in the US New York's the perfect lab. High population, media megaphone, weak opposition. If they can make socialism look functional there, they'll export it to LA, Chicago, and DC within 5 years. That's not politics, that's social engineering with a skyline view.
Daniel, you always manage to turn a campaign ad into a Bond villain plot. But I can't even argue with that. From the people who brought you lockdowns and inflation, now presenting Marxism 2.0 with free Wi-Fi and compost bins.
Okay, let me jump in before you guys start calling him Chairman Mamdani. Look, I'm not saying I agree with everything he's proposing, but I get why people are drawn to him. And New Yorkers are exhausted, rent's insane, wages are stagnant, and billionaires are buying penthouses they never live in. Mamdani represents a younger generation that's done with corporate control and political complacency. You don't have to agree with socialism to understand that frustration. He's not calling for Stalinism, he's calling for fairness. Maybe it's naive, maybe it's impractical, but at least it's a reaction to a system that keeps failing regular people. Sometimes shaking the snow globe is the only way to see the pieces fall differently.
Skylar, I'll give you credit. You defend the indefensible with elegance. But here's the problem. Every time someone promises utopia, we end up with ration lines and regret. New York doesn't need a socialist mayor. It needs an exorcism. The city's drowning in crime, taxes, and illegal immigration, and this guy wants to hand out free rent like Oprah. At some point, the adults in the room have to stand up and say, "We tried this. It failed everywhere, from Caracas to California. You can't fix capitalism by killing it."
And let's not forget, this isn't just a New York problem. This is what happens when you let universities become indoctrination centers. They teach kids that socialism is compassion and capitalism is cruelty. Then those kids grow up, get elected, and suddenly we're debating whether profit is immoral. Newsflash, profit built the country. Socialism builds dependency. And that's exactly what the left wants.
Exactly. Dependency keeps voters predictable. When the government controls your rent, your healthcare, your paycheck, it controls you. Freedom's expensive, but submission's permanent.
And it's always wrapped in good intentions, which is the most dangerous packaging on Earth.
Exactly. The road to hell is paved with slogans and student loan forgiveness. Mamdani's campaign is just the latest proof that the left doesn't want to fix America. They want to reinvent it in the image of a failed ideology with a TikTok filter. All right, before we jump into final thoughts, it's time to pay some bills, but we do it the Data and Dissonance way. If you're tired of buying coffee from companies that hate your guts, good news, we've got you covered. Our Data and Dissonance coffee line is roasted right here in the USA, built for the red-blooded, truth-speaking, freedom-drinking American. We've got High Lakes Light Roast for the early risers, Rock Creek Medium Roast for the 9-to-5ers, and my personal favorite, Bitterroot Dark Roast, for those of you who like your coffee as bold as your opinions. Plus, the new Gen X apparel drop just hit the shop. Tees, mugs, bumper stickers, and our bestseller, I identify as non-binary. So if you believe in caffeine, common sense, and keeping your money out of woke corporations, hit up dataanddissonance.printify.me and grab your gear. Because patriotism looks better in a hoodie, and it smells like fresh coffee. All right, time to land this plane. We've covered the ballroom backlash, the court confirmation chaos, and New York's new socialist science experiment. And if that doesn't sum up 2025 America, I don't know what does. Now, as always, we wrap this show the same way, with final thoughts from each of our crew. No scripts, no spin, just unfiltered truth from every side of the spectrum. Brian, kick us off. What's burning on that MAGA fire tonight?
You know, Artie, I keep hearing the same line from the left, that Trump's tearing down democracy. Meanwhile, they're the ones rewriting history, censoring speech, and calling common sense hate. The ballroom, the judge, the so-called socialist, it's all part of one big tantrum because they can't stand the idea of American pride making a comeback. We've got to stop apologizing for wanting a strong country, solid borders, and secure elections. The left doesn't want unity, they want submission. And I'll say this straight, if loving this country makes me extreme, then call me Mount Rushmore.
Brian out here dropping Liberty mic bombs. I'm pretty sure the Founding Fathers just fist bumped somewhere.
I think what this episode shows is that America's problem isn't disagreement, it's disconnection. We've stopped listening and started labeling. Everyone wants to be right more than they want to be real. Trump's renovations, the court appointments, the socialist experiments, they're all symptoms of a deeper divide between identity and integrity. We can debate policies all day, but until truth means more than team colors, nothing changes. We don't need echo chambers. We need honesty. And that's why I love this show. It still gives people permission to think out loud.
Preach, Rachel. That's why you're the sane one on this ride. Well, most days.
Here's my take. None of this is random. The outrage cycles, the nominee fights, the cultural meltdowns, they're engineered chaos. You keep people mad. You keep them distracted. While they argue about chandeliers, the real power brokers are rewriting the rules. The same bureaucrats who never face voters keep stacking the deck, while the media points at Trump's paint samples. It's all sleight of hand. The only way to fight back is to stay awake, stay skeptical, and follow the money, because behind every headline is someone cashing in on your outrage.
Daniel, that's why we keep you around, to make sure none of us sleep too easy. You just turned HGTV into a global psyop, and somehow I believe it.
All right, look, I know I'm the odd one out here, but I'll say this. America's broken, yes, but it's not beyond fixing. People are angry because they feel powerless, and that's where all this chaos comes from. I may not agree with Trump's methods or MAGA's message, but I do agree that the systems failed ordinary people. If we spent half as much time solving problems as we do fighting each other, this country would shock the world with what it's still capable of. We don't have to pick socialism or capitalism. We need compassion and accountability. That's my final thought. Do better. Be better. Argue less. Act more.
Skylar bringing the peace pipe to the firing line? Respect. That's the balance this show's built on. So here's mine. At the end of the day, America's not falling apart. It's waking up. What we're watching right now is a country fighting for its identity. Some people want comfort, others want courage. Some chase safety, others chase freedom. But here's the truth. You don't build a legacy by playing it safe. Trump rebuilding a ballroom isn't just renovation, it's metaphor. We're restoring something that's been neglected. The idea that pride in your country isn't a sin. We argue, we disagree, we roast each other. But that's the beauty of liberty. Free speech isn't supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be loud. So wherever you land on this crazy political map, remember, the fight for truth isn't about who yells the loudest. It's about who refuses to stay silent. And, as always, speak truth. Stir thought. This episode of Data and Dissonance is brought to you by the Caleb Rourke thriller series, The Covenant Protocol, The Prophet Directive, and Black Echo Rising. Novels that pull back the curtain on power, corruption, and the cost of silence. Available now on Amazon and wherever freedom still sells.